What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Average Joe's Story. I'm Captain Great Value, and I'm going to tell stories that I've heard from friends or read on the internet. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this content. Okay, so for today's interesting stories, we're going to be talking about a story by Keith Gibson on core.com, and I gave it a title called Being Fired for the Right Reason. I was fired from a law firm. No, I wasn't a lawyer, not by a long shot. I worked in the file room. I was in my early 20s. Back then, I wasn't really looking beyond my next paycheck. I also would chauffeur the senior partner around in his Mercedes sedan. He turned out to be a great mentor of mine. His name was Bob. One day in between phone calls, Bob asked me how I was doing. I told him that I was doing great, thanks. That's when it happened. He fired me, sort of. He said, "Keith, you're fired." I was shocked. I asked him why. He said, "Keith, I see you're working in the file room, Xerox room, answering phones, delivering the mail, driving me around, going and getting lunches, and I still didn't understand. That's why I'm firing you. Keith, you're too damn smart to be working here, doing the things you're doing, so I'm happy to force you to do something else. Go back to school, learn a trade, apply yourself, start a business. I'm giving you 2 weeks notice. You have 2 weeks." For several days I thought about it. I thought that if I just worked hard enough, someone would notice it and promote me. But that's not how it always is. I had always wanted to go to tech school, but I didn't think I was smart enough. That's another story. I decided to check some of them out. I enrolled at ITT Tech. A week later, I went to Bob and I told him about ITT and could I please keep my job at least until I graduated. It was a 2-year course. I was worried about how I was going to fit school and work together. Bob told me, "Keith, I'm very proud of you. As long as you're going to school and making good progress, you can work here. Also tell Barbara, the HR manager, that Bob said that you can work any hours you'd like in order to accommodate your schedule." What a fantastic man Bob was. He impacted my life in a big way. 2 years later, I graduated with the highest honors at the top of my class. I was immediately hired by tech giant at the time, Honeywell. That was the first and only time I got fired, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Unfortunately, Bob, RIP, passed away a few years after that story happened from cancer. A young man of 43, at his funeral, we heard stories about all of the people that Bob helped behind the scenes. His firm, Franzel, Sato, Robbins, and Bloom is still around. One of the attorneys, Ron Grusin, worked there. I used to deliver his mail to him, copy papers and stuff. Today, 40 years later, Ron Grusin is my attorney, negotiating settlement deals, real estate transactions, and a host of other businesses and personal legal matters for me. Ron and I laugh all the time about how far I've come, and we reminisce about the old days at Bob Frenzel's law firm. So honestly, I think this was a very, very good story. It's extremely rare that people look out for you, but if they can tell, if the company owner can tell you're an extremely hard worker, and if they can manage to do it, I'm sure they're not going to fire you just for, no reason, of course. They know that you're trying to get yourself into a better situation. So definitely a good story. I definitely like this one. Thank you very much for this story. Appreciate it, Keith. This next story comes to us from Justina Grosset from core.com. I named it Questionable Common Courtesy. I have not been fired, but I have been suspended for a week. I was working for this big company every day near my office. There was this young homeless lady asking for money. I used to tell her good morning when passing by every day. She was always nice and polite. Over time, I started buying her food from time to time, especially fresh food like fruits, so that she could stay healthy. Also, it was too expensive for her to afford. After about half a year, she started opening up to me a bit, and she explained that her tragic life and how she ended up in the street. It was heartbreaking for me to listen to. I asked her how she managed, and she told me that as a woman, hygiene was vital for her even though her period had stopped and she had not had a shower in ages. The company I was working for was huge, and we had a gym and showers inside the building for our use. I then told this lady to come with me, and I took her in my office and offered her to have a shower, which she gladly accepted. I left her and waited for her at the front door of the gym so that she could have her privacy. She came back after maybe 20 minutes, all fresh and clean. She was so happy. When we were exiting, one of my colleagues appeared and asked me what we were doing. I explained to her what this lady was going through. She did not say a word and went upstairs. I went back to work and was straight away called by HR. My colleague had told them what I had done, using my personal pass to let a stranger in and use the company's facilities. I had broken the policies and rules, and I was suspended for a week, with a first warning letter for misconduct. I took this opportunity to take a week holiday, which was much needed at the time. If I had to redo it, I would do exactly the same. Nothing is worth more than humanity. Although I do agree with her, common courtesy, honestly, it wasn't her facilities. If she wanted to be real nice about it, she could have taken the homeless lady to her own home and let her use her own shower, right? I mean, it's the companies, and now that somebody saw that, I mean, I can understand why she was reported. Nobody wants to use a shower, even with flip-flops or even touching the same handles, that have to be sanitized and clean. You don't know what kind of diseases she may have had. She may have looked healthy, but we honestly don't know what type of, illnesses she may have had. So I can understand that, she was in the wrong at that point in time, and she had the right mind to do it because she was being real friendly, and she was, being very hospitable, but using the wrong facilities to do it in. I mean, I'm sure even today, there's places they can go shower at. She could have given her a ride. She could have walked with her. She could have done something, right? But either way, that was the choice that she made. She said she'd do it again. I just hope that I never witnessed anything like that in my life, because even I as well would, report her as well. I don't want some homeless person showering in a gym shower where I shower and kind of like, no thanks. On to the next story. This next story is by Jim Groupe on Quora.com. I titled it "To Quit or Complain." He says, "Who are you going to complain to? The guy who hired him? There is a saying that everyone's job basically boils down to making their boss look good. In other words, if you do good work, you make your boss look good. The reverse is also true, but you don't want to obviously do bad work, since that will get you fired. But you can be certain to do what your incompetent boss tells you to do and document it. So that's his effectiveness, or lack of, is apparent to his boss. However, you had better find another place to work, perhaps in the same company but for a different boss. Unfortunately, it may take a long time for his boss in the company to realize your boss is bad at his job. I was one of 4 lead engineers in one of the most productive engineering sections of GE, managed by someone who was truly outstanding. He moved on to another position, and GE replaced him with a true loser. In 6 months, every one of the lead engineers moved to other jobs or left the company. In the 6 months after that, the 4 replacement lead engineers also moved or quit. GE threatened anyone who did not accept a promotion to be a lead engineer under him with an adverse entry in their personal file. They still couldn't get people to work for him. Finally, 2 years later, they moved him to an outpost in Spain, where he was the only person in the office. And by the way, the manager who hired the loser never woke up and never acknowledged his poor choice. A decade later, the engineering department was no longer competitive, and GE had to abandon a market where they had been the leader for 20 plus years. Well, with that story right there, people make poor decisions. You could be the owner of a company. GE, I can understand, was a very, very solid leader in a lot of products, light bulbs, air conditions, you name it that you can remember GE used to be really good at. I can imagine, with the wrong choice of employees hired, the markets, your industry could suffer. But be that as it may, though, he is right. There's nobody you can complain to, because if you complain to somebody, you get fired. If you don't do the job, you get fired. So you might as well look for another job. So I understand. It is the nature of a beast to work for a corporation, and I, for one, can tell you that is how it works. Well, that's all the videos I have today. I hope you enjoyed them, and see you on the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and if you really like this content, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. See you on the next one.